then you need to get out here and do it. You need to be around brave men. You need to get some balls. You need to get your network together. You need to do the truth. Humble yourself. Stop sitting there with an ego. Realize you ain't shit. You're nothing but lucky. Bacteria could have stole your eyesight at the age of 3, and it didn't. You could have been in a car crash and lost both your parents. Never happened. You've been nothing but lucky. Blind luck has given you a favorable hand, and you've managed to f*** it up. And they are trying to convince you that you should act how you feel. You should show more of your feelings. If you feel this way, you should show it. If you want to cry, cry. Look, I have no problem with guys crying. Sometimes guys cry, right? My dad died, I cried. I've cried once in 10 years, but it's not a default emotion for me. Sometimes you cry, right? But what I'm saying is the reason they're trying to bring out emotionality in you is because most of the time you don't feel like doing the things you're supposed to do. But the true masculine frame throughout history was doing the things they didn't want to do, but they knew they had to do because they had honor and duty. That's what honor and duty means. Do you think the men on the Titanic wanted to stay on the Titanic? No, we're men. We have to stay. We're scared, but we must. It's our duty to let the women and children on the lifeboats. This is masculine duty. When you remove self-control from men, you get, not only do you get emasculated weak men, but what you also get is very dangerous men. Because the world at large is trying to tell you, just be more in touch with your feelings and everything's going to be fine. Men also have an innate desire, 1, for conquest, and 2, we have a biological response. We are very predispositioned to anger. You look at all these school shooters and these are men who can't control their emotions. That's all they are.
Facts.
They have no self-control. And then they go and do dangerous. A good man controls himself. I have absolute self-control. If I decide to smash your face in, it was a very conscious decision. Nothing to do with the fact I was angry. You understand? Emotional control is absolutely and utterly important as a man. Now, I'm not saying become a stoic dork, have no personality, be a boring. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you need to understand as a man, there are certain principles under which you act, regardless of how you feel.
Bam.
I can wake up in a terrible mood. I can wake up sad. I can ache. I can have a busy day, stressed, etc. I will complete the same tasks as if I woke up in a fantastic mood. I'll do the same things because how I feel has no bearing on the things I'm going to do in my day because I have duty to myself and to my bloodline. So a lot of you guys out here are acting like fools because you feel like acting like fools. And what I'm going to say to you is, because you think there's something wrong with you, you go, well, I lack motivation. You hear this one? I don't have the motivation to go to the gym. Well, here's the news flash. Neither did I. And I still did it. So now what are you going to say? Now you have no excuse, right? Oh, you're scared to get in the ring. So was I. I still did it. Scared to get in the cage. So was I. I still did it. Being a man isn't about not feeling things. It's about acting the way you're supposed to act, regardless of how you feel. And I'm tired of hearing guys message about how they feel. I don't feel motivated. I don't feel. Feel. Leave the feelings to the girls, right? That's what they do. We act. We're men of action. We get things done. That's how the world got built. All of it. All the men who built the skyscrapers felt scared. They did it anyway. You need to become a man of action. Stop worrying about how you feel and start worrying about what you're supposed to be doing.
You have a series of emotions you live with regularly, don't you? Those emotions could be bliss, passion, joy, faith, but they could also be worry, stress, depression, frustration, concern. And because you've done it over and over again, even though you know they don't serve you, you will find a way on a very regular basis to get those damn emotions. The quality of your emotions is going to be the quality of your life.
The Bible says in 1 Corinthians, we are unspiritual when we're under the control of ordinary impulses. And that's the way so many people are today. They just let their feelings run their lives. If they feel like telling somebody off, they just tell them off. They feel like being depressed, and they go around all depressed. But friends, we cannot just act on these emotional impulses and expect to have any kind of victory in our lives. Feelings can get us into trouble. And throughout life, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to lose your temper. You're going to get up some mornings and feel like being depressed. At times you'll get caught in traffic and feel like being impatient, feel like getting upset. But we've got to learn how to follow wisdom and do what we know is right and not just follow our feelings around. I can feel my emotions rising, but I made a decision not to get on board. Just because you can feel those emotions doesn't mean you have to get on board. When you feel like saying something that you know you shouldn't say, no, don't get on board. If things aren't going your way and you kind of feel like being discouraged, no, you've got to learn to discipline the negative feelings and keep a good attitude anyway. It's when we do the hard things in life, that's when God is developing our character. Somebody offends us and we just don't let it bother us. We just take the high road. That's when we're really maturing. But the problem today is too many people are not willing to pay the price to walk in victory. They don't want to be inconvenienced. They just want to take the easy way out. The easiest thing to do is to just let our flesh have its way. If you want to grow up and experience God's best, it's going to take some hard work. It's hard to keep a good attitude and be patient when nothing's going your way. Sometimes it's going to make us uncomfortable. But I read where there are two kinds of pain in life. One is the pain of discipline. The other is the pain of regret. And if we live a lazy, undisciplined life and we act on these emotional impulses, we're going to make very poor choices that we regret later on. I mean, how many times have we acted on our emotions and said something that we know we shouldn't say, and later on, it ends up hurting us in that relationship? Friends, the pain of discipline is minuscule compared to the pain of regret. No discipline at the time is pleasant, but later on, it's going to bring you a harvest of great things. If you live on that shallow level of just always letting your flesh have its way, and I can tell you later on, you're going to have some major regrets. If you allow yourself to just go around being upset, impatient, and stressed out, later on it's going to catch up to you. Later on it's going to affect your health. If you just are loose in your morals and you just do whatever you feel like doing, well, it may give you some pleasure at the time, but later on it's going to cost you a very heavy price. See, God will only promote us as high as our character will take us. And God is not going to put you in a position of greater leadership if you are not treating the people in your life right now with respect and honor. If you're being lazy and not being faithful to do what you know you should be doing, then that's going to keep you stagnant. That's going to keep you from growing. If you had a problem with your temper 10 years ago and you have that same exact problem today, I can tell you that's keeping you from God's best. If you would just do your part and grow up a little bit and quit being ruled by your feelings, if you do that, that's when God will begin to increase you. If you're having difficult times today, instead of getting all bent out of shape, you need to see it as an opportunity to grow. God may be trying to do a work in you. If you find yourself always being around people that offend you and you're always getting your feelings hurt, well, there's a good chance that God is trying to teach you to quit being so touchy. If you find yourself around people that are always rubbing you the wrong way, always irritating you, God is trying to teach you how to love the unlovely. He's trying to teach you a little bit about patience. Well, God, if you just ever change these kids, that's why I'm always upset. No, let me tell you a secret. God is not going to change your children until you first allow Him to change yourself. And instead look inside and allow God to do a work in you. Then God will change the circumstances. Then He'll change those other people. As long as we're not passing the test, then we're going to have to take it over and over again. In 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 12, don't be surprised at the fiery trial that you're going through. It is only to test your quality. You see, when we go through times of pressure, it shows us what we're really made of. It shows us areas we need to improve. And unless we learn how to rule over our emotions, make the right choices, keep a good attitude, then we're not going to get out of that situation. God loves you too much to just leave you alone. He sees your potential. He is going to constantly be pushing you and testing you and giving you opportunities to improve. The next time somebody does you wrong and you're tempted to get upset and lose your cool, no, you need to see that as an opportunity to grow. If you'll keep a good attitude and do the right thing, you know what? You will pass the test and God will promote you. Don't get on board with your feelings. See, we cannot control every circumstance in life, but we can control how we respond to those circumstances. When you feel your emotions rising up, instead of just praying, God, get me out of this situation, God, change everything, no, you need to learn to pray, God, help me to remain calm. Help me to rule over these emotions. God wants us to be stable. He wants us to remain consistent. And the way we do it is to learn to live beyond our feelings. We got to discipline these negative emotions. You do not have to get all upset just because things don't go your way. Make your flesh stay calm. Pass that test. Just walk away. Be the bigger person. Don't allow other people to steal your joy. Keep yourself calm. It's a decision that you have to make. God is not going to make it for you. You've got to discipline yourself. The next time you're tempted to just follow your feelings, you remember God has promised that it is not too difficult for you to handle. You can overcome. You can withstand it. That's what I want you to see today. Just when you have the emotion, you do not have to get on board. When we act on these emotional impulses, it causes us to make poor choices that we're going to regret later on.
Work. I have people inside of Hustles University. You just said I conquered TikTok, right? There's a guy inside of Hustles University who's 16. He's making 45,000 pounds a month. You know why? Because he takes my old interviews, he makes TikToks, and he puts them on TikTok. He does 300 TikToks a day. He just works. Doesn't think, doesn't try and be smart, doesn't try and be efficient, doesn't try and change the world. He sits his ass there on his phone and fucking works. And now he's making 45 grand a month.
I've told this story on other podcasts before, but I've been an envious person. I've told this story because it was so pertinent to me about how most people don't care. I was walking to school. I was walking to sixth form college in Luton. I was 16, 17 years old. And I used to have to walk about an hour each day to school, and it was raining, and I was walking. And I was walking with three of my friends, and a Ferrari, it was an F430, I think, pulled up at the...
That was my first Ferrari.
Pulled up at the lights, made a bunch of noise, and I was standing there, and I watched it, and then the light went green, and he just tore off. I said to my friends, I was like, bro, how do we get Ferraris? And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, my mom is on a council estate, single mother. She raises 3 kids on 300 pounds a month. We can barely afford food. He has 200 grand for a car. Liquid for a car. Something is broken. None of the teachers at school have Ferraris. None of our university professors have Ferrari. No one else I know has a Ferrari. What do we have to do to break the matrix and find the money? This is all a lie. I want a Ferrari. And my friends were like, don't know. That's why I have Ferraris.
Friends.
Well, no, that's why I have Ferraris and they don't. That's why I now have 33 Ferraris. Because I was envious. I was envious of this man. Most people don't care.
But you turned envy into learning how to figure it out.
Well, I turned envy into anger, and anger is power. But what we have people doing now, because they don't believe in themselves, because the matrix has dampened their soul, when they feel envious, because they want to level the playing field, which is all envy is. Instead of trying to elevate themselves, they try and drag others down. So when people look at my life and they're envious of me, what they should say is, he's truly from the most humble possible socioeconomic beginnings. He is a person of color from a council estate, a single mother household. He is the bracket of criminal. He's at the bottom. And he made it up to the highest echelons. He's on the phone with Elon Musk and his ability. He can do it, I can do it.
What's the worst advice anyone's ever given you?
It's a good question. I've seen a lot of bad advice on the internet. What's the worst advice anyone's ever given me personally? I never really listened to anybody. So it's hard for me to talk about advice because I never listened to it. The traditional path to wealth is terrible advice. To go to university, get a degree, get a job, blah, blah, blah. That's terrible advice. We already know that. We talked about that. I think follow your passion is also a terrible piece of advice.
Yeah?
Yeah. People say, hey man, you need to find what you're passionate about and do that. And what they're trying to say is only do what you like because you have no motivation to do anything else. And motivation in and of itself is a scam. I don't believe in motivation. I believe in discipline. I am not motivated to do the things I'm supposed to do every day. I don't wake up full of like joy that I have to go to the gym or that I have to work or I deal with crap, I don't feel motivated to do them. I'm disciplined. I do them regardless of how I feel. Whether I'm in the mood to do it or I'm not in the mood to do it, it gets done. That's discipline. Discipline's a real thing. Motivation is fleeting.
Yeah.
You're never going to be permanently motivated. So when someone comes along and says, oh, do what you're passionate about, what they're saying is you'll have endless motivation and then you'll be able to try hard. If you're the kind of person who can only try hard at something he enjoys, then you're going to fail. Because most things you enjoy don't pay any money. If they paid money, you wouldn't enjoy them. It's called a job, right? Nobody likes their job. You like your hobby. I'm sure you like playing video games. Maybe 1%, 0.1% can make money from video games, right? Most people, you ain't ever going to make it.
Yeah.
Do you think the guy in China who owns a concrete plant is passionate about concrete? Do you think he's sitting there stroking it at night, naked in bed? Fuck no. It's money. Be passionate about success. If you're passionate about money, then you can be passionate about anything. I'll be passionate about any business on earth that pays me. If you pay me $1 billion to dig that hole, I'll be very passionate about that hole. I will dig that hole with passion for the cash.
Yeah, because you know the cash.
For the money.
Yeah.
That's right. So when people come along and say, oh, you need to find something you're passionate about, follow your passion. Bro, you're going to follow your passion to the fucking food bank. You're never going to make any money that way. You have to sit there and go, what is going to pay me?
Most men's dream is a Lamborghini, let's say. And they have to save, and they have to finance it, and work out how they're going to pay for it, and they have to get the garage for it. And it's a big deal. So by me trivializing that big deal, it highlights to me the echelon of my life. If I walk into a car dealer and say, what have you got right now? Oh, this and this. Okay. Don't ask the price. Don't care what it is. Don't care what it costs. And pay for it, and then leave it at the dealership for 4 months before eventually it collects on a truck, because I never even pick it up, and it goes into some storage unit somewhere. It's like I get other people's dreams with ease. I take their dream scenario and I trivialize it into just, yeah, okay, I don't even want it. And I think that's what I enjoy about it. It's kind of like
That is hedonistic.
Well, it's kind of like a man's in love with a supermodel. Oh, I love the supermodel, and he writes on her Instagram. And well, these dudes, this is real. A man's in love with a girl on Instagram. She's got 3 million followers, and she's beautiful, and he's liking her posts and writing underneath it, and he's inboxing her, and she's not replying, and he's obsessed with her, and I'm like, yeah, okay, coffee. Fine, Tuesday. Do I really want to talk to her? No. But this man wants it so bad that I have to make it so ridiculously easy. I guess it's kind of like a peacock putting up his feathers, you know? Or a lion saying, don't come near my territory, don't come near my tree, or I'll annihilate you.
If you were in a room with ice cream experts and all they talked about was ice cream, how to make it, how to store it, how to move it, the different flavors, the size of the cartons it's in, how much it costs to produce, if all they talked about was ice cream and you were in that room, sooner or later when someone comes to you to ask you something about ice cream, you're going to know the answer.
Yeah.
But you're going to accidentally know some shit about ice cream. If you're in a room of people who only talk about money, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you need to be around people who are about it. And the problem is with the people out here, everyone has a dream, but not many people have a plan. A dream and a plan are different things. When you say to guys, do you want to be rich? Yeah, I want to be rich. How will you get rich? One day when the shit comes in. So you can have a dream with no plan. When's the last time something fantastic has ever happened on accident? When's the last time you've seen a big jacked dude and you say, hey man, how'd you get so jacked? And he goes, dunno, oops. Dunno, it just happened. No, he planned it. He went to the gym, he ate a certain way, he planned his meals, he had to make it happen. It's exactly the same with getting rich. You need a plan to get rich, right? Everyone out there has a dream, but very few people have a plan.
Yep.
If you're surrounded by people who have a plan to get rich, and you provide value to them in some way, because they're not going to drag you up if you ain't doing nothing, because that's what friendship is. Friendship is value exchange.
Yeah.
If you provide value to them, sooner or later you're going to begin to make money. Let me tell you something. When I was broke, and like I said, I have a bunch of money now. I was broke. This is not like I was broke, but from like a middle class family. I was broke, single mother, public government housing, no car. I had to run to the gym, broke. When I was flat broke, the only of my friends I'd sit around and talk to with my friends who would talk about money. The guys who would sit and talk around about video games or sit around and talk about football, I wouldn't hang around with them. I only used to sit and talk to my friends, talk about money. None of us had any money, right? But if we walked into a coffee shop and we bought coffee, we would then sit there over our coffee and analyze, how did this coffee shop make us give them our money? Because that's what's happened. We've given our money to this coffee shop. Why? Did we really want coffee? Where is it located? Is it a convenient location? Is it because of the brand of the coffee? Is it because the waitress is cute? Why are we in this particular coffee shop? Why didn't we go to that one? Why are we in this one? If we were to open up a coffee shop next door, how could we outcompete this one? What's the rent for this place? What's the margin on a cup of coffee? Everyone in here's a man. If you notice, everyone in here's a man in a business suit. Why is the person serving not a hot girl? Why is it a guy? Do they sell sandwiches? Do they sell cake? Like, start to actually think. Think about the money. And then if you do that every single time you spend money on anything, you're gonna end up realizing there's tons of gaps. There's gaps in the market everywhere. You'll start to sit there and go, you know what? I could open up a coffee shop right next door to this fucking coffee shop. Change this, this, and this, and murder this place. But people don't think about it. People just give their money away all day, and it never even crosses their mind about how they were convinced to give their money away.
Yeah.
You know? Because if you want to get rich, you're not the Federal Reserve. You can't create money from the sky. You need to convince other people to give you their money. So every time you give your money away, work out why.
Yep.
You know, so you need to be surrounded by people who think this way. You need to adopt this attitude. I've always had it even when I was poor. You need to start to realize that the traditional methods of creating wealth, which are advertised to you, are a scam. The idea that you can just work really hard, save up, get a mortgage, and in 35 years pay the house off, and then you'll be rich. That's not real. That's what your parents did, right? The average cost of a house during your parents' era was like 4 times the wages or 5 times the yearly wage or something. Now it's completely out of control.
Yeah.
It's completely out of control. And patience is another thing I'll make a big point. Patience is a huge enemy to getting rich. I don't care what these Gary Vee and these dorks, because Gary Vee's a nerd. Gary Vee's a nerd, right? He may have some money, right? But if I were to grab him by his neck, hey bro, you gotta be really tough and you gotta really work hard. Shut the fuck up. Pussy. He's a bitch, right? So when all these dorks are talking about patience is what they tell the slaves to convince the slaves to keep being slaves. That's what it is. If I was in charge of the world, right? And I had a working class of slaves, which is what the working class is. I don't use that word slaves unironically, right? You're slaves, and I'll tell you why. If I can create something from thin air, and I can create unlimited amounts, and I can make you give up your life for this thing, you're my slave. If I could create dollars from thin air, unlimited amounts, and I can make you sacrifice your life.
Fiat currency.
And make you sacrifice your life for a tiny percentage of what I can create from thin air, you are my slave. Because even if you say no, I'll say, I'll give you some more. Oh, okay. Oh, here's some more of the free thing I make. Here, go do it. Go clean the streets, idiot. You're a slave, right? So the slaves, what they do to keep the slaves being slaves is they advertise patience. Don't worry,